Good afternoon, everyone. If I could have your attention. Yep, we're good. Okay. Welcome, everyone. I'd like to begin. Please join me as we stand for a moment of silence, and then we'll follow that with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Could I have roll call, please?
Brad Hand.
Here.
Tom Eggers.
Here.
Pete Hamill.
Here.
Chantel Ostra.
Here.
Jeff Wagner.
Here. Next item up is the approval of the agenda for the regular council meeting, as well as the continuation of yesterday's meeting.
I make a motion to approve the agenda and continuation of yesterday's meeting.
We have support for that.
Support.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Hamill.
Aye.
Ostra.
Aye.
Wagner.
Aye.
Hand.
Aye.
Eggers.
Aye.
All right, we will have a public forum discussion on the budget when we roll into that portion of the meeting. Is there anyone here now that wishes to address the council on anything other than the budget discussion? Any written comment?
None.
Okay. Then we need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Support.
Roll call, please.
Eggers.
Aye.
Hand.
Aye.
Wagner.
Aye.
Hamill.
Aye.
Ostra.
Aye.
All right, let's roll into the budget discussion for today. And again, is this public forum now, is there anyone wishing to address the council regarding budget items specifically? You all have, those of you that are making requests, you'll have your turn later. This is for the public. Not seeing any, so let's roll on then into the requests from our partner organizations. We have a representative from RIDES here today, correct? You're up. Please state your name when you get to the microphone.
Hugh Lively. Hugh Lively, CEO at RIDES. There we go.
All right, welcome you.
Thank you. So yes, I am here asking for an additional increase from last year. And so I'm asking for a $10,000 increase to $35,000. We are making some large requests to a lot of our larger cities in our region, and Sheldon happens to be one of those. And actually, Sheldon, over the years, has done a really good job, and just last couple of years has increased it to the 25 from 20. And I want to thank the council and Sam for that. So I think a lot of the in the paper, you probably noticed RIDES is going through some financial difficulty. So we are asking our partner cities and our partner counties and our contractors to, with more money to try to help us get through. So I am here to ask the city of Sheldon to consider the $10,000 increase for this year. So just to give you a little bit of a history, so this year you guys had a total of 5,556 trips. Last year you had 3,617. So that's an increase of about just over 1,900. And the year before that you had 3,313. So we saw another increase. So at least we're heading in the right way, in the right direction.
What was that number again for Sheldon for this last year?
For the year for 25
Five, yeah.
was 5,556.
56?
Yes. $5,556.
Thank you.
Okay. So the increase is actually to close up the gap that we had between what was not covered last year. So we're asking all of our partners to make up that difference this year. So, and we haven't asked for an increase for a lot of the cities for a number of years, probably almost 20 years. And the reason that is because rides for a number of years was the funding was really well. And now we are in a downturn. So we are now coming to our funding partners and now asking for an increase. So we'd love for you guys to consider that. And Sam and I had talked with the village, and who is our biggest participant of the ridership here in Sheldon. So, and you know, we've had 2 buses. I think we increased, if I understood from Barry, we increased it by a bus last year. We kept that. We anticipate keeping the same coverage for this year. So we're hoping to actually maybe pick up some extra trips this year. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. Is there any questions specific?
I have one. In your report the written report that you gave us, you actually have it listed as 7,210 rides for Sheldon in 2025.
Yeah, so that is for all the rides that we did in the city. So that included Elder Bridge and some of the other.
Okay, so how does that differ from the 5,000 number you
So
were?
the 5,000 is actually the trips that were just for the city, not Elder Bridge, you know, not Medicaid. So it's just just the city numbers.
And of those, how many were for the village then?
Well, more than half.
Let's see.
Well, more than half. I'm probably closer to 3/3, to be honest with you. So they're our largest
Yeah.
passenger base.
Okay.
So if I do the math and you said 5,500 rides at $3, that's $165,000 revenue.
How much?
$165,000. It costs you $132,000 to operate in Sheldon. So it seems like we're profitable before we get the $35,000. I have an employee that uses your service, so it's great. I want to continue. That's not why I'm coming after this.
Yeah.
When I saw a report someplace else, Sheldon's one of the largest contributors already. So what are you hearing from the other communities as far as funding? It seems like a lot of the communities aren't really paying their way, and we're being asked to carry their share.
Well, you're not really we're not asking you to carry their share. We're asking you to carry your share for O'Brien County. So that's where we have the turf just here for O'Brien County and Sheldon. Now for the other cities, they are all coming up with various other revenue streams. Like I said, we have not asked for an increase in a number of years. And Sheldon actually just started participating in funding when Sam got here. So when Sam got here, prior to that, there was, I don't think there was any city support. So we approached Sam, and so he started the city support. So for a number of years, there was no support. So we were actually just running with the village and the fare box. Now for what I have here for the operating within the city is 132,190, and our total revenue was 93,739.
Okay.
Yeah, so I didn't. Yeah, it was.
Okay.
But the list of what other towns are getting.
So 15,000 came from revenue. I'm sorry.
That's okay. No. I didn't recognize those figures, so I was like, okay, I have the figures here in front of me that I bought, so it's like, okay. Is there any other questions?
Oh, here we go.
Great, Sam.
Thank you, Mayor. Just for everybody's benefit, so Hugh provided me the other day with the requests that he has made to other cities, and that is linked under item 20G. And so if you take a look at that,
Yeah, so I think the largest increase that we have asked for a city was probably where they were paying about 7,500, and we're asking, can't remember if it's 25,000 or 35,000 for this year. So that was a sizable increase for another town that I have a meeting with in the morning. So Sheldon has actually, when they started becoming a funding partner, that's done really well in the last few years. And like I said, Sam and I worked together in the last couple of years to increase that to 25. And now we just want to shore up that gap. And that's what we're doing this year with all of our cities. And so far I've met with 3 or 4 of the cities, and they're all coming up with the revenue. Some of it's coming out of the general fund, some's coming out of the hotel motel tax. So I'm a little surprised because I thought a lot of it was coming from the general fund. So anyway, all the different cities do it a little bit differently.
So can you outline what the financial issues are that you're having?
Yeah, our biggest issue is our funding all around has gone down. So our funding from the feds has really nosedived. And probably one of our biggest revenue streams that we've had has also taken a turn. And and I'm sure a lot of you follow the news, and Medicaid is probably our biggest revenue, and it's taken the biggest hit, at least here in Iowa. Later this year, we're looking at a much larger, and I have no idea how that's going to translate into transit yet, but I do know that the Medicaid dollars is going to change drastically at the end of this calendar year. So, so you hear it on the news. Here in Iowa, I think they're thinking the hospitals, the hospitals in the rural areas and various other places in Iowa are going to have a very difficult time. And RIDES is going to be in there too, because we have a lot of Medicaid that we provide. So, and I think at the end of this year, the federal government is looking at several billion dollars reduction. And it's going to have a profound effect on not only transportation, but a lot of things. So you're going to be hearing a lot more about it. And that is our biggest revenue. And so I'm doing my best to work with Medicaid now to try to shore up those revenues. I have no idea what's going to happen at the end of the year with our revenue or with our Medicaid, but I'll be waiting along with everyone else. But that's probably the biggest story. And our second biggest story is our drivers. We don't have enough drivers. So if you guys know any drivers, send them our way. That's probably our biggest.
So does this adjustment fill the gap
It does.
to what it is today or what it's going to be at the end of the year?
What it's going to be for next year, for the funding that I'm asking.
So the reduction of Medicaid's in this request?
No, I don't have any idea what the reduction is. That's the surprise. I don't know what it's going to be yet. I'm starting to see a reduction, and right now probably about 15 to 20% less trips so far this year. So I'm working with them to try to offset that, the remaining part of the fiscal year.
So is your business model set up to be sustainable without the type of funding?
No, it is not. So if we didn't have any public transportation, is heavily subsidized by the government. So whether it's here in Sheldon or whether it's in Des Moines, we all get subsidized to the size of our system, but it's all done by the amount of trips and miles that we provide every year. So that's how we get our funding, is broken down by trips and miles.
So the 5,000, 7,000, whatever number that is of trips, is that a fact, is that the factor that determines how much the ask is for this year? Because I look at Spencer, you're asking the same from Spencer, but their population is double.
Right.
But I realize we have the village here and they use
Right.
it a lot. So, I mean, where does Sheldon rank in that scale in terms of rides?
I would say you're in the top 5.
Okay.
You're definitely very up. You're up there.
Okay.
You really have.
So it's
Especially in
based
the
on
last couple of
usage as well, not just population.
Correct. It's more the usage. It is
Okay.
everything that we do for our funding when we do our budget is by miles.
Okay.
So everything is by miles.
That helps. That helps put perspective
Yeah,
on it then.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's some of the, like I said, that's some of the inside, how we've done it. So yeah, so that's how we do our, everything that you see here on paper is all done by miles.
okay. Any other questions for you?
Was it?
All right.
All right. Thank you for your
Thank you.
presentation.
And I appreciate, again, your continued support. Thanks, Sam. And we'll be in touch. All right.
Sheldon Golf Course. Larry, is that you? 2 days in a row, man.
Larry Smith from the Sheldon Golf Course. Just want to give you kind of an update on where we're at and the direction. We appreciate the partnership we have with you. This year, again, we're looking at safety issues and another bridge. In fact, the current bridge that's going to be replaced, if we didn't do that this year, we'd have to close it for safety reasons. It's really in disrepair. We've welded it a bunch of times. I do not feel safe crossing it, I can tell you that. That will be the final bridge in this project. That is a great asset to the community and to the golf course. We host, of course, the high school events. We're working with the college to be hosting some college events there coming up, and the youth program here through the rec department. So, yeah, that's where we're at, I guess.
All right. Any questions for Larry?
It seems to me that we had a discussion last year with your request from last year for the budget this year, that if that was going to take care of the bridges, and I thought I remember is that was going to take care of the bridges, and that we wouldn't be continuing on that discussion this cycle.
No.
Am I incorrect about that?
Yeah, no. This bridge things have been a 3-year project. Very big undertaking. But yes, the bridge here is a 3-year project. This spring we'll be putting in the final bridge for that project. It's 5 total bridges. So this one, unfortunately, is the most expensive. Needs the most approach work and concrete work due to where the current one sets. We can't use the same approaches. On the prior bridges, we used the same approaches, which helped a lot. This one, there's no way to do that because we're trying to raise these bridges so that when we do have flooding, we don't have issues of damage to bridges, those kinds of things. So,
Till we get that next 1,000-year flood, huh, Todd?
let's hope so.
All right. Anybody else? All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Sue's not here.
Okay. No one from Mitsui here? You are? Okay. Okay. Are you Cindy?
Yeah.
All right. Welcome.
Thank you.
Cindy Harpenoff from Mid-Sioux Opportunity. Just want to first of all thank you for your past support that you have provided us. Just real briefly, Mid-Sioux Opportunity is a community action agency. Our services are mostly income-based, and our goal is to help families fight poverty and become self-sufficient. We manage federal, state, local programs that help families through educational, health, and financial assistance. So we're one of 16 community action agencies in the state of Iowa. Our CSBG, which is our Community Services Block Grant, primarily funds 5 counties in northwest Iowa, those being Lyon, Cherokee, Ida, Plymouth, and Sioux. However, a couple years ago, our WIC program was required to expand into a 10-county service area, with that including O'Brien County. So we do have a staff. We have actually a group of staff that's based out of Spencer and a group that's based out of Remsen. So we are in Sheldon at the Living Water Community Church the 3rd Thursday of every month from 9 to 3:45. This past year, we served approximately 284 WIC participants per month. That was roughly about 400 unduplicated participants throughout the year.
Did you say WIC?
WIC,
Women,
yep,
infants,
so that's
children?
a supplemental food program for
Yep.
women, infants, and children.
Okay.
So it would be pregnant moms, infants, and so they come in for appointments, and then we provide them with assistance where they're able to go to grocery stores and purchase nutritious food. So our request this year is the same as it was last year, $1,000. We go to our other counties in the 5 counties and ask for larger amounts, but with serving O'Brien County now with the WIC clinic, we just like to request $1,000 to help. That just goes towards our outreach offices, and that is where participants go in to they make all their applications or help with crisis accounts, food pantries, that type of thing. Have any questions about Mid-Sioux or our WIC services here in Sheldon?
As far as client serve, is that a steady number? Is it increasing, decreasing over time?
When I compared it to last year, our monthly participant is maintaining its average. Actually, our unduplicated decrease, which I guess to me tells me that more of our families are receiving services and staying on.
Okay.
A lot of times we see families that maybe a lot of families get on WIC because they need assistance with the formula because formula is so expensive. And then once those babies turn 1, a lot of those families do not continue to receive the services, even though they're eligible for them until they're 5 years of age. I think right now, due to the economy and the way, the increase in cost, a lot of those families are staying on longer until those children are 5 years of age just because they need that extra assistance. The average dollar value of a food package, I believe, is around $60 a month per participant. So that just helps, free up some dollars to pay towards a bill that they, could use that money for their groceries instead. And it has to be approved. They can't just go to the grocery store and purchase whatever foods they want. It's nutritious. They have to get a card, and it doesn't let them purchase an item if it's not on that card.
So my math wasn't very good last time, so I'll try to be careful this time.
Okay.
$2,229 per person served on average. You served 400 non-duplicating, so about $880,000 into the local economy.
So can I clarify that a minute? Yep. So the numbers that you have, that spreadsheet that was attached that has
I was just looking at your letter. Okay.
That is based out of our CSBG data system. As you can probably all imagine, in state systems, one system doesn't talk to another. So our WIC data system is not incorporated into our CSBG data system. So this spreadsheet, this data sheet that we give you comes out of our CSBG data system because that's what I take out to all of our local councils and our county supervisors in our 5 counties. So it's not reflecting those 400 WIC participants. So really, if you look at the dollar value that's coming into O'Brien County, into Sheldon, it's going to be a lot more than if you take the $229 for the 400 participants. That make sense? Or no?
It's $2,229, wasn't it? I'm just.
$2,229.
Yep. Okay. And then on the second page, you said you were going to request population of 5,000 or more, 7,500. You're asking us for 1,000.
The reason for that being, like I mentioned, with us O'Brien County not being one of our core counties,
Okay.
you also have Upper Des Moines Opportunity that serves your community. And so I don't want to take away, they most likely have an outreach office that is here that serves O'Brien County. And so a lot of those families may be going to them for more of the crisis assistance. So it's just out of respect for the fact that we're both probably coming to you, and we're asking for the bulk of our funds from our 5 core CSBG counties, not from the additional WIC counties, since technically WIC is the only service that we provide in O'Brien County.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
You're welcome. Thanks for the question.
Any other questions for Cindy? All right, thank you for
Right.
being with us this morning,
Thank you.
this
Thanks for your
afternoon.
support.
Thank you, Cindy.
Now, we're going to skip Children's World because we had that discussion yesterday, which would bring up O'Brien County Economic Development. Is County here? Okay. Then let's move on to NTC. Anybody from NTC today? Okay. Upper Des Moines?
Hello, I'm Shakira Meyer from Upper Des Moines Opportunity. I am the Director of Development. I work in collaboration with our outreach staff, our Family Services Director, and our Executive Director to pull together all the information to bring to you and share about our organization. So as Cindy was mentioning, we are the counterpart. And yes, Upper Des Moines Opportunity does have an office here in O'Brien County. We are based in Primgar. Most of our offices are based in the county seat within each county. But we do serve residents of Sheldon. The report that we submitted to you identifies that we assisted 100 unduplicated or unique households with 242 unique individuals. From our CSBG data system, as Cindy was indicating, we're able to identify that $26,725 was returned back into the economy here in the city of Sheldon based on the assistance that we provided. There, also, we broke that down for you that there's an average of just over $110 per individual of assistance. Additionally, we have the low-income home energy assistance program and the weatherization program that we operate across our 12-county area, which includes all of O'Brien County. And that contributed an additional $190,000 back into O'Brien County. And as Cindy indicated, our systems don't talk to each other. And as community action agencies, we rolled out 2 brand new systems last year. The state rolled out a brand new system for the energy program. And as community action agencies, we rolled out another one. There's been some bumps along the road. And so our staff have done amazing, but they're doing better this next fiscal year. So what does your contribution to Upper Des Moines return to the community? It comes back in the form of utility assistance that is outside of LIHEAP. That low-income home energy assistance program is a one-time payment, average about $450 per household, that helps sustain them through the winter months and allows for the moratorium being shut off from their energy. However, come April 1st, those services can be shut off. And that's where we come in and we are able to work with those individuals, those families who are still having that financial difficulty for whatever reason, whether it was a medical issue, a bill that they couldn't pay that set them behind on their utility bill, the increased grocery costs, all of those pieces figure into why people are coming in to see us. We also, in addition to that utility assistance, it also helps support our food pantry. And we are very fortunate across our entire region. There's Great Hunger Coalition, so we have multiple pantries around each of the counties. But that contribution, should the council decide to continue to support as they have in the past, would also or could also help towards that.
Any other questions? All right, very good. Thank you
Wonderful. Thank you for your continued support.
presence. You're welcome. Do we have any representative from Family Crisis Center?
Hi, how are you guys?
Good.
Good.
but I'm Tracy Feathers. I'm the Director of Development. And I have to say, I've only ever presented at a different city council member in two cities, so I can already tell this is a little bit
Scary?
less. I try to think of the word because I do know the mayor. So I'm like, it feels a little less scary. So thank you. I appreciate it. I'm not obviously for the public speaking, so thank you. We appreciate your past support. You guys have given us appropriation last year of $5,000. So here again this year asking for $5,000. And I think it really demonstrates your commitment to the safety and well-being of individuals. We provide a unique service, and sometimes it's maybe things that you don't see, you don't recognize, but it is happening in all of our communities, whether big cities or out in the country. We're helping individuals that are experiencing abuse, violence, trauma, or they're in some other type of crisis situation. So we give them support, resources, and tools to help them rebuild their lives, because we're helping them when they're at their lowest. And they are without resources. So some of the things that we can help with food, transportation, getting a job. We also help with safety planning. And I think it's interesting that we do that, is that sometimes we have to help that victim stay safe in their home until they can leave. Sometimes we help them get a plan to be prepared to leave. We also can help with protection orders, custody issues, just navigating all of that. Homelessness, just finding affordable housing is really difficult. We also, you're looking at sometimes other mental illness, maybe addiction issues, just other things that can contribute to those crisis situations. So we do help getting access to shelter. As you know, there's a shelter in the city called Safe Place. So we do provide transportation there. We also will pay for a hotel stay if they need to be safe and we can't get them there for a variety of reasons. We also assist with helping them find affordable housing. We actually do have a condo in Sioux Center that's obviously in a private location. If people need to stay there, they do temporarily. And then we work with them. We help them get utilities paid and a down payment. And then we budget and we help them. So we're paying for more at the beginning, and in about 3 to 6 months, they're paying for most of it because they really need to be self-sufficient and So we also can help when navigating the legal system. So we do help victims of crime. That's not just homicide, arson, burglary. There's trafficking, robbery, hate crimes, things like that. So we'll work with them, helping navigate that. Maybe they're going to be deposed, helping through a court hearing. We also can be with them when they're going through crime photos and videos. And we also help them apply for victim compensation. We also have a new service that's really amazing. When a parent, typically a mom, is leaving an abusive relationship, you want to show those kids that we need to have a healthy, that this is not what I want my children to have for the rest of their lives. But in the state of Iowa, the offender can still see their children unless they've been abused or have witnessed the abuse. So that's where we come in. So we actually help that offender. We help the person who has caused harm. They are allowed to see their children in our center. It's very child-centered. It's supervised visits. They're never left alone with their child in the room, because at the end of the day, that parent is always going to be their parent. So why not help them be a better parent and a better person? The other thing we've noticed too, if one victim leaves, they find another. And so it's really about helping everybody get better and hopefully do better. We also do provide some community education. We have a program that really works with high school and college kids about healthy relationships and things to watch for that. So it's very important, we believe, because we have to do some on the prevention and the education side. So we do serve 31 counties in western Iowa, from Minnesota to Missouri. And in that, we have 8 offices, little satellite offices, and I'm sure you all know we have one here in Sheldon. And we provided last year, we have a crisis line that's answered 24/7 statewide, and we answered over 46,000 calls. And then in person, we helped over 2,000 individuals with things that they need. And one thing I guess probably we want to talk about budget, because that's why we're here. So we have a team of 52. We have a budget of 3.75 million. And of that, 42 of our team are advocates. So they're doing the work of helping clients day to day, working with them. So 65% of our funding is is state and federal. That's restitution money. The other 30% is philanthropic support. And then the other 5%, we do have a thrift store that actually generates a profit, which is good to pay for three advocates' salary and benefits. Obviously, we don't charge for services, so it's a nice way that we can generate some revenue. So, asking for your support, we'd appreciate it. You're investing in your community, and I believe that you all should probably have this letter that we sent out. So our last fiscal year ended in September. We helped 69 Sheldon residents in person, then we also answered 14 crisis calls. To serve a person in person, it's 1,030, and a crisis line is 2160. So if you add all that up, it's a total of 71,372.40 to provide services to individuals in Sheldon, in the city. So we're asking for 5 appropriation, and we'd appreciate it.
Any questions for Tracy?
Thank you.
Thank you. Supposed to say hi to you from here.
Hi back.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for being here, Tracy. All right, I think that was everyone that was going to present. Am I missing anybody? In terms of partner organizations? No, I think we got them all, so. All right. Any comments before we move on? In summary of what we just heard? If not, let's move on to item 16, local option sales tax, hotel motel tax, and urban renewal TIF. First of all, local option sales tax. Anything you want to address on that?
Yeah, I'll start off and then I'll turn it over to Angie. Right underneath item 16A, it's not printed in the binders, but it's linked in the iPads. You can see the 1995 ballot language. I thought we would put that in there for reference. It's for community betterment, but then there's a restriction on 37.5% to be used for property tax reduction and property casualty insurance. Now we can move into the lost projected dollars, local option sales tax projected dollars. Again, we are projecting a flat revenue stream of $1,050,000. It's conservative. And you scroll down at the bottom, we'll be talking more about this later, but I wanted to introduce this right now so you can be thinking about it. You have 5 requests for consideration, and then you also have another 5 requests for a potential bond or loan. Angie, you want to take it from here? Anything else?
Anything further?
No, I really don't.
Okay.
It kind of speaks for itself. Some decisions need to be made.
Yep.
So I'm looking at the spreadsheet. I see a deficit of 11,533.
Correct.
That is what?
That includes taking $40,000 of cash to investments and fulfilling the 5 requests that are there for consideration. Golf course, Mid-Sioux, Upper Des Moines, Family Crisis, and the transfer to the library.
So if we want it, is our goal tonight to erase that deficit? Or how are we, what is the budget? How is our budget dealing with that deficit?
So we do have investments over on the right-hand side. a little bit further up, of a total of $208,000.
Okay,
And we would be adding the 40,000 to that. Or if you chose not to take that cash to investments, then you could support those 5 requests.
okay, okay.
At this point, this is just something we're considering. The decision will come later, or you need a decision tonight?
It's your call. In past budget sessions, this is the agenda item where
Okay,
decisions have been made for lost and TIF.
I'd personally like to have some time to see the rest of it because I don't understand some of this. So we traditionally always move 40,000 out of lost into investments. Is that?
We
how'd that number
don't.
come?
In the current fiscal year, we actually took a decent amount of investments and had to cash it in because of the expenses that we are budgeted in this current fiscal year. So we were just trying to rebuild some of the investment balance. And that 40,000 just comes from, that was a request, I had a request in there for my capital items in the city office, and we decided to use the general equipment fund that I mentioned last night. So we decided to possibly move that from cash to investment since we wouldn't be expending it from here.
And then the 97,000 to the police, for police items, does that include an 8th car?
The 66 and the 58.5 down below.
Well, transfer to general police items. Isn't that 97,000?
I think you need to scroll down. Are you on the top part of the sheet?
Yes.
Okay, that's the current fiscal year.
Okay.
So yes, the lower portion is next fiscal year.
so assuming we would go with those requests for consideration, would we the 40,000 would be reduced by 11.5 and would still have some investment back in there? Is that what you would?
We could. Mhm.
That would make 29,477, the investment adjustment.
And the other thing, we won't have that recycling, $6,000 for recycling anymore. Because if we do the big cans, Mark will empty that for free at no charge.
Good point. So that shrinks the gap there.
That would make it 35,477 with a 0 deficit.
Do you still want more time, Jeff, or is that helping?
I will do whatever you want. I don't know where we get feedback from the community after we get all of our budget put together and you know, the phone calls I keep getting, people are like, when do we get a chance to say? And they're like, we haven't seen this yet. So I don't know. I will take your lead this year on the process you want to use. We're doubling the amount of money we're taking out of loss for streetlights this year from 50,000 to 100,000. Is that correct?
That is correct. That was to help the water department. The water department and the sewer department typically contributed $50,000 to street lighting, and water cash flow wasn't doing as well because of the dip with the painting of the West Water Tower. So we decided to not take 50,000 from water and use 100,000 from lost.
Okay.
And then for people to, I guess, speak about this stuff, we will have 2 different public hearings.
In addition to this discussion?
Yeah.
So what are we voting on then? Just, I don't understand what we're voting on.
We aren't really voting on anything.
Okay.
What we're doing is we're having a general discussion to see if we have a consent of a direction.
Okay.
So this is a chance, Jeff, where you put your input into how you feel it needs to go, and then we discuss those.
So how do the possible EMS loans, how does that fit into this?
So in the past, we have had those up above considered into the final balance, and we just knew that we couldn't do it. We couldn't handle all those items. So it was our thought that right now we have an emergency services loan that this fiscal year is the last payment. So that debt is actually coming off of our books. So we felt like this was a decent time to maybe take out a loan of about the same dollar amount, probably looking at about the same interest rate, to be able to afford those items down below. The fire tanker payments, we're committed to those. We've got to find a way to pay those.
So when you say payments, are those loans we already have, we're kicking down a new amortization schedule then?
The one that it was in this current fiscal year, it was for 2 police vehicles and a fire truck.
Fire truck.
And yes, that is a loan that we have at Iowa State Bank, and our final principal payment is June 1 of 26.
So we're going to reamortize that principal we still have due for a longer period of time, is that correct?
We would pay that loan off. This would be a new loan at probably a new interest rate.
But roughly the same as what
But
we have
yeah.
right now.
Yes, the other loan was $650,000. This would be less.
Did we ever intend on paying it off this year? We always planned on reamortizing it,
No, we always planned on paying it off this year.
but now we're not going to.
No, we will.
Well,
That loan, it's just a separate loan.
We'll be
yeah.
starting a new one.
We'll just-
Paying
yeah.
one off and bringing out a new one.
It'll just continue as the same payment that we have, roughly the same payment that we've been paying.
I know where you're at. I remember the first year I went through this budget, my head was swimming. But
Yeah, whatever you think. I'm going to follow your lead on
So
this.
this is the last year for the school turf project?
It is.
Should be a substantial reduction in tree lighting. I think we did. And not that I'm looking to give money away, but I would tell you that since the parks got that anonymous donation, the park had to take a haircut. They could still be whole, so to speak. Not that I'm wanting the park to take a haircut, but it would be an option for the council to consider if you think it's too tight. We got 18.5. We're asking for 30 or
18.5 was the donation.
$30. Yeah. Yeah, we're asking for 30.
35.
Like I said, I'm not wanting the haircut, I'm just giving you an option.
Just a little trim, maybe?
Yeah.
Give him a buzz cut.
I guess in light of what we've talked about so far, I'd be in favor of zeroing that deficit, knowing that the 6,000 in the recycling bin is available to go against that. Making them by just transferring 35,477 over into investment. And that should zero out that 11,533, if my math's correct.
So that's you're taking that 6,000 plus the 11,533, taking that off of the 40,000. Or no, adding back in the 6,000, taking 11,533 off and then.
I took the 6 off the 11,533.
5,500, whatever.
35,000.
And then subtract what that,
Yep, and then honoring those requests that we've had today.
And we'll bring
Yes.
this back at another council meeting too.
Mhm. We have consensus on that?
Yeah, I could go.
Fred?
Yeah. Where's the Children's World funds all come out of?
The TIF.
Tip.
The tip?
Brought to my right, do we have consensus over there?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay. That's all we need at this point then, correct? All right. Let's move on to hotel motel tax. Who's going to speak on that first?
This is unchanged from what we're currently doing. We didn't change the split. We were on track to receive approximately 240,000, so it remains unchanged from the current fiscal year. I do think Heidi's here, maybe.
Yeah, Heidi, did you want to address the council, or you're just here to observe?
I was just here in case there were questions for me.
Heidi representing the marketing committee, correct? Yes. So if there are questions for her, you can ask them now, or questions for Ann or Sam. If you're comfortable with this, we can move on. Anything you've got planned that would be complicated by what you have what you're currently getting?
I built based our proposed budget around what we know.
Yeah, if you would, yeah.
People that just gets louder. We based our 2026 budget upon the split we're getting now. So
Sure.
we planned based upon that, presented it to the committee, and it went through the SCDC board. So we're comfortable working within that.
Okay, good. We move on. Yes, let's move on. That was easy. Urban renewal and TIF. Anything you want to share, Sam or Ann?
You can.
Let me do it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so looking at the TIF sheet here under item 16C. And we have approximate new dollars available of about 5.1 million, which is an increase, rather substantial increase over the current fiscal year. As we're going through this, I want to just introduce this now. I passed this out. It's linked. It's linked later in the agenda, but I just want to take a moment to introduce this now. This is the this has the debt limit at the bottom, and it talks about the projected legal debt limit. And I want to introduce that concept now because in the upper right-hand corner of the TIF sheet, Todd and Angie and I have proposed that you consider roughly $3.5 million in tax increment finance essential corporate purpose bonding, in addition to the $600,000 that we just talked about for emergency services, for a total of 4.1. So 3.5 would be through TIF, and 600,000 would be through general obligation that is separate, but we can save financing costs by coupling the two together. So we've talked about pending legislation, and this is where the 800,000 set aside comes down underneath total expenses. There are several bills in the legislature that would affect levies, and one is a direct impact on tax increment financing that would do basically two things. One is it would remove the school foundation levy from the tax increment financing calculation, which would, by our estimation, remove $800,000 to $975,000 out of the 5.1 million. So if you look at it from perspective, yes, that seems to be panic inducing, but if you look at it from the perspective that we're going from 4.2 to 5.1 because of a large increase in valuation. Even if we do that $800,000 set aside and ultimately lose it, it would be a problem. But at the end, there would still be a small increase in the available TIF dollars. That makes sense? So I was asked earlier today, what we would do with that $800,000 in set aside, and that could be revisited after May, which is when the session ends. And there's 4 requests already down below that total over $2 million. That could be considered. You have additional SCDC rebates and incentives of $250,000. You have City Park, for example, the playground. I know we're kind of jumping the gun on that one, but we're anticipating that will come up. And then you have the pavilion shed, which was discussed last night, and then the splash pad that's been on the last few. So we added that to this one. So we have 421,000. Now I'm going back above. We have, starting at the bottom, we have 421,000 in airport funds that was presented last night. Cemetery was talked about last night. Highway 18, that's part of the DOT, the sidewalk and right-of-way projects. That's the second of 3 payments. You have a payoff of callable wastewater treatment plant TIF debt. One of you had asked me about that earlier, if that was really necessary. The answer is that's really your call. I think you'd save some in interest. Remember, it's easier to pay off callable debt than it is to refinance. You're looking at a simple resolution and writing a check. And it is a savings in interest.
Sam, one more question in relationship to those dollars.
Sure.
Are we getting 5% on that right now in the bank?
Great question. We were getting 5.06 up until November. Currently, we're getting about 3.18.
And what's the effective rate on that loan?
4%, I believe.
Or was it a little lower than that based upon?
There was 3 parts to it, but the highest part was $1,005,000, and that was about 4%. I wasn't proposing to pay off the lower interest parts.
So if you add in the fact that we're getting 3.18 3.18 on it right now, isn't that additional dollars that goes toward? I guess what I'm saying is it just continues to weigh against why are we, if we're going to end up having to rebond later on, why don't we just leave the cash where we have it and utilize it somewhere else if we need it?
You could do that, and then you'd have potentially $1.4 million plus your estimated cash balance that you could put towards the list below after May.
How much would it be again?
Well, you have $800,000 in the set aside. You have $275,000 in the cash balance, and then if you add the 640.
That would go a long ways with those considerations below.
Yeah. 1.7, right? Did I get that right? Yeah.
We don't have to do anything.
1,715,000.
And we don't have to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
How serious are we about the splash pad?
It's not a priority part of recreation work.
Seems like a lot of money when you've got a pool right there that has, it's not a splash pad, but it's similar.
It's on a left. It's on an old list of things that have been talked about, and don't think that that's the only projects we could do, right? There, I mean, if you're looking for more places to spend money, we could bring you quite a buffet
I'm
list
sure.
of
I think
things.
there's a
to
lot of
spend
lists
money on.
out there.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, what we have up top as a potential bond are some of the things that have been talked about over the last several budget sessions. We don't have to do any of them. It's just what do you potentially want to do?
I was mentioning earlier to Angie, it seems to me right now cash is king. And why give up our cash just to reduce debt when we're really not gaining much? So it seems to me that we have more security in the cash right now than trying to reduce debt load. So
I have a few questions for clarity. We don't have a vision that we can build on pay plan this year, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
And we have $250,000 for SCDC rebates and incentives. Is that really expected to be used down on the wish list, or is that something that is just a number to help use up that
No, that
possible money?
that was discussed.
Use the mic, please.
That was discussed to be used for different projects that the NCDC is working on. As you know, when we did strategic planning and visioning, a lot of our goals were in conjunction with the city for development and for business attraction to Sheldon.
And the airport, 421,000, is that the matching grants, or is that the loan we have to advance and then get paid back for?
That's the full advance. That's the full amount that we will have to expend, and then we will receive money back.
Okay, so that's not the city's share, that's just
That's
Cash flow
100% of the project.
so we
You have
would,
to do it
Receive
before,
Right.
some of
it
that
has to be completed before anything comes back. So
Right.
so then and then the, the 180,000 for consulting, is that consulting just for parks, et cetera? What is that 180,000 in consulting all budgeted to do?
It's, it can be fairly expensive to update your urban renewal plan draft agreements. You got agreements like,
It pays for
Children's
our legal
World and-
fees with
yeah.
bonding, anything
Mm-hmm.
related to TIF. It could help with some professional fees for the park if they would do the 100 or the million down below. It's a lot of legal fees.
Okay. And yesterday you talked about purchasing the Granstra land, so that was publicly discussed. How's that being paid for?
We are using cash reserves. We've put money aside the past 2 years, or this current year and the previous fiscal year. That's being paid with cash.
These are all questions people have been calling and asking, so I'm trying to get them out there. So the callable WWTP TIF debt, what does that stand for?
Wastewater treatment.
Wastewater, okay. All right, thank you.
Going down to the Children's World, after last night, their presentation, I'm totally confused. And they want close to $93,000, and I believe that's plus the buy down yet on top of that. I'm just wondering if we're at a point where we continue to give them nearly 100,000 if we shouldn't have representation on that board. So we have some guidance of what's going on with that, because daycare is just some economic development as the SCDC and the city, we're all in partnership. So I'm thinking maybe we need to have some representation on that board so we have a clearer picture of where they're going. Because I'm totally confused of where their direction is last night.
I was really disappointed the director hasn't shown up for the last two meetings that we've had, and so I kind of feel like I'm with you, Brad. There's poor lines of communication between the two of us. And if they don't want to improve them, then I guess we have to find ways to improve that communication, because it is very important. It was very confusing when we got all done with it. So I think that that'd be a great move
Yeah.
if
And
they
I
would
think,
allow us to.
you know, daycare is important to the citizens of Sheldon. It's important to our employers. It's important to everybody.
The problem is it's important to all of us as long as we have little kids. And once our kids are gone, we all tend to say, oh, I don't want to be involved in daycare anymore. And yet it's one of the things that as employers we think are important, but we don't want to invest any time or money in it, and we expect the city to do it. So I'd also be interested in I don't understand how they can't project what their needs, what class sizes they're going to have, for lack of a better term. And yet the school does a pretty good job of knowing what you've got for upcoming enrollments. And so I wish they could, you know, maybe there's some things in working with them that we could get better, less surprises that they seem to have. And so Sam, after having talked to him, what do you think the request was last night?
Well, the request, as I understood it, was to keep the operational grant going and put more in that if we were willing, and that's a 2-year agreement. Clarified that last night after the meeting. And the second part is once the payments have been made to them for the 23 of the 28 infants that they have, or maybe it's 21, then they would get the rest of that money, which is $2,080 per, to be about $14,000. And that would require, I looked into it last night, it did not, and today I did not get TIF council involved. I just looked into the agreements myself, but it would require a public hearing and an amendment in a resolution. So
So I do have a question, and I'm sorry, I should know the answer to this question, but, so the pilot program, so the 58,000 that we have in here, we are committed to that because we committed 2 years for that, correct?
no, the pilot is a 1-year pilot.
Was the 1 year, the 2 year was
Yep.
the, okay.
2-year was the other.
operation. Yeah.
But we are committed to the pilot, and so you have parents that have been receiving that money. It's been communicated to them. I think you might have some challenges and a diminishing point of return to try to exit that agreement, halfway through the fiscal year, 3/4
Right.
through the fiscal year. So that would be your call, but I believe it could be done.
But this 58 that we're budgeting for the next fiscal year, we wouldn't necessarily need to have that in the TIF budget.
No, because
correct?
the agreement expires, so if there's not a new agreement, then that money becomes available for other causes and needs.
So,
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
well, I was just going to say, my understanding from them last night was they wanted to end that program, and they wanted whatever funding we would be willing to give them. My question with that is, I don't know what that funding, whatever we're willing to give to them, is going to go towards, other than they want to look at expansion, but I don't know where they're at in that process, and so I feel like we need to know more details on that process to be able to give funds towards their project.
Yeah,
I agree with you, Chantel, and I covered that ground with them last night, asking them what the time frame was on their goals. Well, they didn't really know, but basically what it boiled down to is that the budget that we're talking about now won't be affected. They won't have need for those dollars.
Right, if they're wanting to end the program, then I think this 58,000 comes out of our TIF budget, correct?
We would remove it and it would go back to the ending balance. It'd be added onto the ending balance.
Right,
So not this budget, but next budget we
correct,
do.
right, like we finished.
We're going to be talking about two things then. We're going to talk about whatever they request for whatever they're planning on doing to expand, and a renewal of operating.
Correct.
Because that ends after the budget of this cycle is on. So what I would suggest is that we fulfill our 2-year obligation on the operating budget, which is the 32,000 on here, and that we drop off the pilot program of 58,000 and change off of the budget we're working on right now. And as far as the $14,000 is concerned right now, I think we wait until the end of the pilot program
Correct.
to make the decision on whether or not we give them the rest of that, of whatever the residual is.
I would agree, and
Or
I
not.
feel like that was our agreement with them, so I feel like we need to fulfill that agreement and, yeah. But I don't see a reason to keep the 58,000 in this budget because they said they wanted to end that. And until we have further clarification on what their ask is, then I don't know that we do more than the operations that they've requested or that we have an agreement with them for the 2 years. So.
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. So if you look at item 20H under the additional information section, some of you have found it already, but I have the supplemental Children's World information, and I'm adding the new information down below because it just confuses things if I add too much information up above into yesterday's information. So the 4 attachments, one is the letter that was presented at the meeting last night, which last night was the first time that I saw that letter. I did have an inclination, Tanya and I did, that there might be some changes, and that's documented in the email that I linked. Tanya, maybe you want to step in too and talk about this, but what I heard in that meeting is that the rebates or the discounts to the parents and the families had made a difference. There was fairly widespread appreciation for it, and they were going to gather testimonials from the parents. Is that a fair summary of what took place in the meeting?
Yes, I would agree with that. Part of the discussion was what was the expectation from each of the parties, so from the city, from SCDC, and from Children's World. And part of those expectations was for them to gather testimonials. They did express that parents or guardians were appreciative of the buy down, but that is all we have as far as testimonials. Thank you, Sam.
Oh, yeah.
So what's the relevance of this?
Well,
What are you speaking to?
Well, the relevance is I wanted you to hear the community, that we had a conversation with them a month ago, and that doesn't quite tie out, with all due respect, to the discussion that was presented last night. And the other point that I think is important is that when Chantel and I and Tanya met with them a year ago or so, and there was different faces in the room, but there was an offer at that time to give the city or SCDC a seat on the board, or at least a liaison position. And so I think it is certainly appropriate for me to go on, or Tanya on your behalf, and ask Children's World if they're willing to do that.
And to that point, I would just like to say that I have offered to be on the board. I do have, just as well, I do have a child there, so it makes sense for me to be on there, unless anybody else would like to join as well.
I think we would agree that it was a mess. I really am uncomfortable taking that money out of the budget at this moment until we really understand what they're saying and what they're trying to say. Because I can't imagine they're not going to come back and say, that's not what we meant. So
Clarify what monies you're talking about.
the 58,000
The 58,000
was a
is
2-year agreement.
No,
One year agreement, okay.
with ends this coming July, the end of the current budget.
Yeah.
So this 58,000 isn't needed in the budget we're working on, which is the next budget.
Yeah, it's in the next budget because this is FY 26, 27.
Right. I'm saying take it out of it.
Mhm.
because we only have a one-year agreement, which will be done in July of this year, which is the current budget.
And I think Jeff is saying keep it in there in case they come back with something in the next year.
I'm saying I'd like to know more
What's
money
that-
before we finalize the budget from them, because I just don't believe that they knew what they were saying or request. They were hoping when they say, okay, you don't have to do the 58,000, we can have that money for something else instead, I think is what they were trying to say.
From what I took out of last night, they were laying out the fact that the pilot program wasn't needed for the next budget year because of the fact they don't need to generate any more enrollees into their program because they're tight on space, and that they're redirecting their efforts now to define what they need for space in order to meet what the current obligations already are and to see what they can add for growth. And until they do that, and they understand what the dollars and cents are behind that, it does not make any sense for us to budget for something that they won't know for another year. It makes more sense that we come back to it for the next budget cycle, a year from now, and then they will know better, we will know better, and we can then worry about what kind of finances we can afford or approve to go that direction.
The letter here dated February 3 that she read us last night, the third paragraph, it says, we are requesting that the rate buy-down program not continue after July 2026.
Right.
Unfortunately, we cannot sustain increased enrollment numbers with our current building. We are at capacity in most of our rooms. The other thing that was in this letter that we haven't really addressed is they asked about the 14,680
Right.
and wanting to use that for operational.
But that's what we're saying is we feel we need to complete the pilot program
But that was this year, that 14, we've
But
got,
we wouldn't release that until the pilot
Until
program is
that is-
about done, so it would be in June.
okay.
Yes. Yeah, we're proposing to wait until the end of the pilot program in order to decide what we do with that. Which is already budgeted dollars, so has no effect on the budget we're working on now.
I just think there's a lot of groundwork that needs to happen before they even know where they're at in the process of an addition to the building. And I think that's if we were to give them additional funds, it would just be used for operations at this point, and we've already committed to operations. So there was not clarity on the ask, and that's what I'm struggling with.
Mhm.
So, other than to eliminate the pilot program.
So they were able to fill the room by offering a $1 discount. Now that the people are in there, when I say the dollar is gone, there's just business logic here. I just don't understand. I understand that they asked for it. It's a great way to say the 60,000 or 58,000 is gone.
They didn't see the benefit. The $40 a week
Went to families.
went to
Right.
not to
families
Children's World.
instead of Children's
Yeah.
World.
Right.
So that's what I took out of the meeting.
Okay.
They didn't benefit directly.
I'm with you. I think the thing that's coming to this conversation is children's role is very important to us, and we've got to get our arms wrapped around what's going on rather quickly, because those of us that have been here for a long time, Greg, Angie, it's a roller coaster. Every few years we're high, then we're low, then we're high, then we're low, and we know that right now they think they're high, but it's gonna low, and my wisdom says that we've got a very short period of time to figure out because we're looking at next year's budget when the money runs out, that they're not going to have anymore, to figure out where they're at. I would like them to come back and make some more, answer some questions is what I guess I'd really like to know from Children's World if that was possible, Pete. What do you think? Or we can just take the 60,000 out and say to the people that because we hear the daycare is too expensive. Now it's not too expensive?
It was a pilot program. that they don't want anymore
Okay.
and we don't need to fund anymore.
Okay, let's cancel it. I'm
So,
done with it.
but I do believe it's a good, solid first step is to get someone on the board so that we can start to answer the other parts of your concern. And that is to get our arms wrapped around where they're going, what it looks like, that type of deal. So I think that's a good, solid step, and we should do that. But that doesn't take any budgeted dollars to do that from a budget perspective. So
There's another paragraph in here that says, because of the outlook of center needs, we are requesting the operational grant be substantially increased from the current 31.2 to be set aside for center expansion. We are in the very early stages of the expansion process and do not have an exact cost, but it will assume it will be well over $1 million. Right now, they're just looking at architects' fees. So, but they are asking for more in operations.
but they haven't proposed a dollar figure, so
But what?
they didn't propose a dollar figure.
No, substantial.
Everybody's got a substantial need.
That narrows it
I mean,
down.
we've got departments in the city that
I know.
have substantial requests and needs, and
Right.
we're not buying those needs.
So do we take it off completely, or do we do what Jeff said and get clarification on what a substantial increase looks like?
So just for your information, the 32,448 that is in here for operations is actually an increase. It's up from 31,200 this fiscal year.
Just cost of living or something.
I think, Sam, did you do like a 3%? Yeah.
Yeah, it's in the agreement, 3 or 4%, get with you.
What if we were to take that 58,000 out of there and increase the operations for next year, and because they're asking for that, I mean, that would,
I look at the $14,000 as the opportunity to increase their operational
Yes.
budget, which is already budgeted. We don't have to budget again next budget cycle.
so then we can take that whole 15 and that becomes part, and then we move it towards their operations like they're asking as well.
And we're working off of a balanced budget
Mm-hmm.
that's existing and operating right now.
And then we reevaluate next year,
It's going to take them a year for them to get their feet under them anyway.
right?
And then we'll know, and then we can
Yeah.
discuss real numbers.
And that 58,000 could get used for a lot of things within the city,
Mm-hmm.
for future expansion and other projects and
Yep.
needs for other departments. So I think sometimes we got to worry about the city, our operations, before we start opening the checkbook all to these other entities. They're all good entities, I'm not going to say that, but sometimes I think we need to worry about our door.
But you're okay with the $14,000 rolling into operations for,
I guess.
There would have to be a hearing on that and a new resolution, so.
Doesn't
Yeah.
have anything to
But-
do with last year's budget.
no, not
Yeah.
really, but it's still, I want to know.
Their budget, I guess, it would make a,
I would say let's just address it in June.
right?
I thought they were asking for the money immediately to be able to do the room improvements because they need to do it for the space they need now. That was my impression.
They got between now and June to come back and tell us what they're going to use it for.
Didn't it
Because
say
the
they were
pilot
gonna
program
furnish
was
a room or something?
clear.
You'd have,
It had bounds.
you'd have everybody coming back. We need this room remodeled, we need this garage remodeled.
I thought they were going to use it.
This would be used to furnish the new infant room that was created due to increased infant enrollment. Before the new room can be utilized, there are several needs to be addressed, totaling an estimated $12,000. Some of these include fixing the large crack in the drywall, purchasing a gate, buying other furniture for the room. So,
Well, it's our responsibility as a council to set vision. And I feel like at this point, we're asking Children's World to set the vision, and we'll set it down for another year, and that's fine. I just don't want to, this keep coming back all the time. Children's World has needs, Children's has needs. We don't have enough daycare. We don't have enough daycare. We need to provide the vision, help Children's World come up with the vision if they want it, or we have to say, which I think we're saying is, you're on your own, you guys figure it out. When you get it figured out, we'll listen to what your proposal is.
But I think having representation on the board would help provide some vision.
Right.
So,
mm-hmm.
I just think in this next year, that's kind of what we need to focus on, is helping them uncover that vision and see what's possible.
Yeah, I don't think it's our job to set the vision for Children's World. I think we can assist them, help
Right,
them,
walk
point them,
alongside.
but it's
Yep.
their job really to set the vision. It's a separate entity. It's not a city department, and it's important to the city, but
I agree, but we have to set the vision of what it is we want for daycare in Sheldon, and whether Children's World can provide it, or we need to find other avenues to provide it. I look at Lamar's and they said, okay, here's how many more daycare positions we need over the next 5 years, and we're going to find avenues to do it. Or Orange City went and found somebody to come and provide additional child care. Either that's an important avenue to us or not. So I've said my piece. I'm happy to do what you want, and we'll move forward.
okay. Can you tell us what we want, the conversation we had, summarize what you think we want?
Okay, so we're going to remove the $58,240 of the pilot program. We're removing the payoff of callable wastewater TIF debt of $640,837. We're going to continue to reserve the $800,000. The 275. Oh, that was the balance. And then I think we still need to talk about the requests for consideration that are listed down below. Because I know you questioned the splash pad, you questioned the rebates.
Sorry, was there another rebate for Kent Feeds, or is that
No,
is that all done?
this year's final one. Yep, that was a big one.
So Angie, with what you just stated, what would our estimated cash balance be then? It's right now standing at 275,898. So we would add 58,240 to that, and we would add 640,837 to that, correct?
I got 957, 975.
I was getting there.
I'm just helping you out, man.
I'm doing longhand. That's what, yes, I was, my last three were fine, we were agreeing with her. Can you repeat it?
957, 975.
Okay.
Agreed.
So out of that,
I figured you had it. I thought you had it in your head.
You can check my calculator, it's okay.
so that's the amount that we
Yeah.
would be looking at to address the considerations. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Have we answered the question, have we addressed the request they have for that 14,000 they want to use to refurbish the infant room?
Well, that wouldn't come out of this budget.
No, I know it doesn't affect the budget, but when do we address that question then? If we haven't addressed it now, they're asking. My initial reaction was, no, that's not what it was intended for. But yet, maybe we, at what point do we answer that question? If it's dealing with this year's money.
in June
Okay,
of this year.
all right,
When the program ends, right? That's,
all right. I'm fine with that.
And that'll give them time to tell us what they could use $14,000
Okay, fair enough.
with hopefully a liaison's help.
All right. We move on?
So the considerations, are we supposed to yay or nay our consensus on those based upon a new figure of 970-some thousand? Is that what?
I think Tom's got something.
Sorry, Todd.
If I could, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
So I think the considerations, Tom, they're there. We're not really putting them any of in. We're just saying they're
It's not in the budget at
right?
all.
We don't know what the park is going to come back with, and we don't necessarily think that that's going to be, certainly might not be within the next 12 months before we even get any real traction there, right? So I didn't know. I
So
wasn't
we don't
getting-
really need to budget anything, is what you're saying.
Well, you need to be aware of them, that there might be some money for them. If you want to set aside money for them, I suppose you could. I think Sam would tell you that we have to be a little cautious with setting aside large sums of TIF, right?
Yeah, but you got almost an entire year, so
Right.
we could revisit this in the second meeting in May or the first meeting in June. And
I guess the other thing that I was going to bring up, and if I'm out of line, Sam, you can go ahead and tell me and I'll stop. But I haven't heard yet if the council supports bonding $3.5 million yet. And I haven't heard yet if you support the 10 projects that come up to $3.5 million. And I think we should at least have that discussion. And then if you, as I was sitting there listening to you all, if you decided you didn't support the bond, but you have cash now, you could do a smaller level of projects and potentially not bond this year if you so chose as an option as well. And that's not something that we had discussed internally before today.
And to add what you just said, I think you're still looking for some clarity on North Fifth too.
Correct, because for instance, if we're doing the $270,000 option at North Fifth, I would remove it from the bond list because at that point, we would likely recommend to council that we just use sewer reserves, cash, to just pay for that project. But if we're doing the $750,000 version or the $1.2 million version, that's a different story.
So is it fair to say that it would be good for you guys to have some time to come up with options, knowing what the new figure looks like, in order to come back to us and say, this is what we recommend?
So the other thing that I
Kinda
just
did
wanted
already.
to point out, and when Sam created his box on the eligible bonding, you wrote over my investment. So, I'd like to be able to come back to you, with you guys, or to you guys, to let you know what we would probably have in investments if you needed to dip into that for something.
So we
you
could
wanted
draw
to
off of that like we did this last budget.
do. Yeah.
Yeah, because we nixed bonding last budget because we took out of the reserve at least $1 million, if I remember correctly.
We did, but we're spending down those reserves significantly and using the cash on Grant Street.
Correct.
Yeah.
But now we've got these extra dollars to consider.
Yes.
I would like to see what that looks like. I'd like to hold off bonding until we need to bond. That's my position. So,
When do we get to the point of having discussion on vision? I mean, one of the things we've talked about, are we doing 400,000 to put that sewer larger or not? What are we going to do for PAPE? If we got money, are we going to execute the PAPE land? I'm getting heat from people saying, you bought the PAPE land because you could do things with it. Now we're talking about 28, 29 before 27, 28?
Potentially 27, 28, or 20, summer of 28.
Yeah, I think
And
there's,
unfortunately, that's.
yeah, there's a lot of things that, we got to get the plotting done, we got to get covenants done, the engineering, water, sewer, those things got to take place, and that's going to take some time.
So we've ordered a survey.
Yeah.
And not the legal land survey, but the actual ground survey, so we can get smarter about where storm sewers are going to need to run and those type things, right?
Yeah.
And we've started talking about what phase one could look like, and at some point that will come to P and Z and to this body. But to Brad's point, that's going to take 27 to get a lot of that stuff buttoned up. That stuff doesn't happen in days. That's months at a time to get through the process. Yeah, I mean,
So where I get confused is we keep hearing there's this crisis facing us with TIF money that could disappear over the next X number of years. So then as we look at spending TIF money, I keep saying, okay, we've got to spend it on the things that we need to accomplish in the next few years as prioritization if that money's not there. And I kind of feel like on one hand, we're saying, okay, it's going to disappear. We have to be prepared for it to disappear. But then we're going to count on it being there to do those projects when those times come about.
Yes, please.
That is a great statement, and I agree with what you're saying. The challenge is that we have been informed that we really should avoid having significant rollover of TIF funds. That's our challenge. So
Or use it or lose it?
yes, essentially. And it hasn't been defined really how much that we can roll over. We're still rolling over some. But I like the pay-as-you-go. I'm averse to bonding too. Prefer to only do it when we need to. So that's how we've gotten to where we're at. Is we've set aside large chunks. That's how we were able to pay off the pavilion years ago and other things too. But now we are in a situation where you have a resolution for advancement of costs that needs to be paid for upfronted from a place other than TIF, and then you reimburse yourself with TIF. That's how it works. And the goal is to carry over as little as possible, and then also do release of TIF too. And we were asked a few years ago, Jeff, by the county to be careful about releasing TIF because we weren't sure how it was going to affect the ratchet that was already in the levies that we're facing in 2029, which basically takes Sheldon down to 2% property tax revenue growth. And now there's a bill that will move that 2% ratchet up to this year. And so those are some of the things that we're facing. But really one of the biggest problems is, and this is why Atlantic and other communities are doing large bonds now, is because there's a bill that has a great deal of support to require votes for essential corporate purpose bonding. And I don't know that we're going to be able to beat that one. I don't know that we were really prepared to come to you and say we need a $7 million note for residential development when we don't have the plats done yet. So that's where all of you need to talk to our legislators.
All right.
So, Todd, Sam, Angie, could you guys look at the new figure compared to what you have presented for bond on this particular budget sheet and come back to us by the next meeting with something that we can review and provide consensus for so you can move on with the budget?
we sure can. I could give you my opinions right now if you wanted, but we could wait for 2 weeks to update you guys.
It might be good just to ruminate on it a little bit, but
So is there, sorry to belabor the point, but on North Fifth, do you feel like you've got some direction on that?
No.
Okay, because I didn't feel like we do either, and that's a big question mark, because that's a big difference in funds. Do we
Well,
look
it's
at, do we look
two-
at trying to do that?
Yeah, it's 225 out of 10.
Well, 225 versus 1.2, right?
It is. I'm saying in the current bonding version, we have the middle of the road one in there.
Could it be phased without?
No.
No, okay. Didn't think so.
No.
So the things we want to, these 1 through 10, those are needs,
Well, go ahead.
are not, are
Well,
wants.
so yeah, that's what I was trying to get to, is maybe we
Okay.
ought to just talk about each one of those just
Yeah,
a little bit so you can maybe understand.
I look those as needs, and I look at these considerations as wants. So,
Can you share what you want to share, Todd?
Well, I'll just tell you why those are there. So the 250,000 for Second Avenue, that's just so we can start planning towards the 2028 construction project of rebuilding Second Avenue. If we want to bid that in the January, February of 2028, we really need to have plans and specifications done by early fall of 27. So if we wait till the next fiscal year, it gives us a very short time frame to build what could be a fairly complicated set of plans. So I'm just looking to start early. So that's just hopefully proper planning.
And that's what you suggested for maintainer to the water plant.
Correct.
Plus, we have 1.3 million in grant money already
Becomes available.
that we have to use.
Yeah, it becomes available to us federal year 28, so October of 27 is when that money becomes available to us.
Right.
so that we have to
That's our
do.
agenda.
Yeah.
Yes, that we have to do.
So the 225, which is 30% of 750, that's the North Fifth Lift Station. So the 750, as you recall, is max protection, moving the control boards, moving the backup generator, moving all the PLCs and the transfer switches up the hill, raising the elevation around the structures. If you didn't want to do, so I believe it's important to our customers that we do something because I believe, and so does Dean, that Dean's our wastewater superintendent, that a flood like that will happen again. And we feel like we should learn from the last one and be more prepared. There are cheaper options that we would certainly consider. I'm open to hear your guys'
And
suggestions.
I bet you that $750 is a drop in the bucket what everybody had in damages. So,
Yeah, and that's the argument I tried to make with mitigation and lost.
And we discussed this last night too.
And a year ago, and if you recall, I
Yeah.
brought it up last budget session, but we weren't ready to ask for money to fund it yet because we wanted to see where we landed with mitigation.
Right.
Because we thought it was irresponsible to budget for it and then go ask for
Right.
mitigation dollars, because then mitigation could say, well, do you really need the money? You've already got it.
And last night we expanded that by saying, well, is there possibilities by adding pipe to the project to have a difference on funding and all the other stuff? So.
Correct. And you could also say for $250,000, give or take, you build a flood wall and increase your level of protection, and just use wastewater cash for that. So that's an option as well. The 550 for 19th Avenue, that's essentially to do some patching and then replacement in front of the high school. So it'd be from 4th Street south to East 6th, and then a little bit of patchwork on that T intersection to East 6th. I would like to do that project in this upcoming fiscal year, simply because the high school project is done. There's a lot of traffic there when people come to town. That's where they go, and that road is in fairly tough condition. So in coordination wise with their project finishing up, I just think it makes sense there. $750,000 in patching work on the north side of town. What I'm looking at there is trying to increase the longevity of some of the roads. So north 8th, 9th, 10th, and a little bit of Pine Street and North Washington. I'm hoping that if we could spend some money on them on the front side, maybe we don't get to reconstruction projects, full reconstruction projects quite so quickly. Do we have to do that in the next fiscal year? No. But I want to get it on your radar as work that could and should be done. 545, so that's 9th Street here from 4th Avenue or 5th Avenue to 6th Avenue. It's one block. It's been on our CIP for a number of years already. It's been on the pay list. It's in really poor condition. It's an extension of our downtown. Some of that block is actually zoned business commercial. We've done the rest of the downtown. It just makes a lot of sense to do that block at some point soon. And after that, we did. So the frontage roads, that's just the 400,000. That's for the frontage road from People's Bank to Fairway, and also from the high school to Quick Star, the 2 gravel frontage roads on either side. That's been on your list of options of things that you could do for a number of years. Blacktopping them is what that would do. We haven't chose to fund those in the past. We've been talking about Highway 18 corridor improvements. We laid it out there as getting rid of those gravel roads would be a nice corridor improvement. You can fund it, great. If you choose not to, that's fine too. I'm really indifferent, other than I do agree that it would be a nice corridor improvement.
Is there any plan as part of that to put sidewalks in out there? We've had requests from a number of people.
No, that is no dollars for sidewalks included in that.
And would the state do that since it's their property and they did
would
the others?
not. No, then the project the state just did was to rehabilitate existing sidewalk, and they made it very clear they had not intents on adding new, at least in the conversations with the people that I had.
We got to figure out at some point how we're going to get people from the middle of town to the edge of town if we grow that direction via sidewalks. So
Sure. Something that can be looked at if that's the wishes of the council at some point. But no, there's not in that particular plan. I talked about the tree dump pad. Obviously, it's something we want. It's not something we have to have. We've been operating as we are for a lot of years. We can continue to operate that way if we need to. Stormwater project in the 4th Street area. That's something I would like to do sooner than later. We need to get the storm intakes and several of those intersections repaired. I'm not going to get into great detail, but the way the storm sewer is laid out down there is just kind of a disaster. It doesn't function very well. Those roads are in need of rehabilitation, asphalt overlay, but it doesn't make sense to do that until we get the stormwater fixed first. So this would be phase 1 of a multi-phase improvement there. The 200,000 partnership with the high school for their parking lot. When we built our outdoor pool, we did not have to build a parking lot because we're utilizing the schools. The school is looking at an improvement project and replacing their parking lot. Total dollars of around $2 million is what I'm told. In conversations with the superintendent, just whether or not we should participate or not, I do think there's serious advantages to us utilizing and not having to build one in the start. So Corey and I came up with a random 10%, and I wouldn't call it totally random, but an agreeable 10% that we thought made some sense. So it's there for your consideration. They're looking at doing that sometime in the next couple of years. We wouldn't give them the funding unless they actually had a project to complete, right? And then lastly is 175,000. Oh, go ahead, Tom.
On the school parking lot, would that be a bonded situation for the district?
I'm not sure at this point. So
Okay. Okay.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I'd have to confirm with Corey, but
Yeah.
is it? Yeah, I think they have cash.
Well, I'm just saying is
Yeah, there speak for my
they bonded and we're
superintendent.
bonding.
No, that's fine. We'd have to confirm, Tom. How about that?
Okay.
And then the last is the pickleball courts. They've been needing some repair. We got quotes in the last year here to resurface them. We wouldn't have to do all of them at once. The thing I would caution there is since the master plan for City Park came out, we have received, I don't know, half a dozen or so letters of people saying, hey, we like the pickleball courts we have. They need some updates. We agree. Hence the project has been in the works for a while. But they concerns of bathrooms are like, maybe you should think about building new pickleball courts at City Park and adding that to your plan. Park Board has not yet discussed that. So if that is potentially going to gain some traction, I'm not sure if we want to put $170,000 into those courts, but it's up for discussion. The downside, you'd lose a basketball court and you'd lose tennis courts.
And pickleball court.
Well, unless you built new pickleball and new tennis. and new basketball,
Yeah.
I guess. But so I just think at some point we're going to have to, the park board's going to have to talk about that. Now, it's not like I've had 500 people knock our door down and say that, but we have received 6-8 letters.
So with the pickleball and tennis courts, is there could be a partnership with the school since they're on the school's property out there?
Don't believe the school has a desire to maintain those courts. Pickleball, tennis is not a Siouxland conference, right? It's not a
Sanctions.
sanctioned sport. I don't think they get a lot of use out of them.
So we would be removing those possibly?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, good question.
So I made some notes while you were going through all this.
Mhm.
Out of the top 5, I have priorities of 1 and 3, and adding those together, that's $800K.
Yeah.
Then the remaining priorities would be 4, 5, and 8, which is 1.4 million roughly, which could be bonded a year from now in the next budget process.
Or use cash.
Or you could use that 750,000 out of these considerations, the building and the splash pad.
Although I would say number 1 needs to be move quicker than that, right? We don't want to bond for number 1.
No, I'm not talking about bonding or cash, either one. I'm just saying priority of what you have listed for bonding right now.
Yeah, 1, 3, 5, potentially 4, 8, and 9 would be my top. And the only reason I pause on 4 is because
That's fine.
it could come later.
Right. Granted.
That's your neighborhood.
It must be.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and we have spent, not that it really
that's why I have
matters,
Ward 2 now. So.
not that it really matters, and not that we track where we've spent money in town, but we have spent a significant amount of money.
Yes, we have.
Over the last number of years with Oak Streets and Pine and North Fifth.
I would concur.
Yeah, Rainbow Drive.
But we needed to.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely, we did. And we need to spend more
We do.
up there.
Yeah. And I don't even see 23rd Street on there yet.
So you will never see 23rd from, it's actually in the urban renewal plan, and that's an error on my behalf, but unless we add it to the area, 23rd Avenue, south of the intersection of East 6th to the intersection of East 9th is not in the urban renewal area, nor is 22nd Avenue.
Right.
So that would take an amendment of our area to do those roads with TIF.
And I'm only referencing it because it's so bad.
Yeah, no, I know. I happen to live there. I understand.
So, I guess if your guys are amenable to come back for the next budget cycle, and if my fellow councilmen are amenable to that, I would say is take a look at those priorities that we just kind of covered quickly, and then give us an idea of whether or not we really need a bond or not, and if so, what would be the new bond figure that we would need to consider.
Yeah, and you're saying at the next meeting in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering too what you meant by cycle. The budget cycle, that to me would be next year, but you're talking next.
I'm just talking just
Yeah.
what they're proposing for this budget to bond, the 3.5 million. I'd like to see what that looks like now, knowing that we've got 640,000, 58,000 available. And
Basically,
by prioritizing what
Yes.
Todd just went through,
Right.
maybe whittle that down to what we really need for this fiscal cycle.
Did all council concur to not pay off debt? I guess I missed that part if they did.
I'm fine with that.
I think so.
Hold on.
Do you also mind addressing that the numbers that we did for those 10 projects are guesses?
Well, yeah, some of those are Todd math.
No.
That's dangerous math. Some of those are, I've got an engineer's estimate on them, but it might be a couple, 3 years old, right? And so you got to add in inflationary or whatever, but they're all ish numbers. None of these projects are fully designed. So they've all got contingency in them. Most of them have a contingency line item of probably at least 10 to 15% because it's just too early to know until we really start designing.
And all these bonds would be paid off with TIF money then? There'd be no GO on any of this?
These, if you so chose to, these are all projects that are in the urban renewal area and in the urban renewal plan, except for the tree dump would have to be added to the plan.
Right, but it's in the area.
But it's in the area, that is correct.
But to Jeff's question, is it considered GO? TIF is considered, does count against the general obligation.
Right, but at one point on this piece of paper here, you talk
TIF
about,
GO.
was it $20.60 impact for every $1 million we take? So if we did 3.2 million, is that basically saying people's taxes are going to go up $60?
No,
then,
that's if we did it in non-TIF.
Okay.
And I had that illustration there too to help explain the
I'm just-
emergency services.
Anybody's listening to this,
Uh-huh.
I'm just trying to get it so they
That's good.
understand.
So I think, yes, I think everybody is not in agreement not to pay off.
And I really think the 90,000 you could take out of somewhere out of the TIF we already have. I mean, you wouldn't have to borrow for the tree pad one.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I would say though, like with the North Fifth lift station, if we're not going to bond this year and we still want to do something to protect that infrastructure, I would probably lean more towards the flood wall then, simply because I don't know that we are comfortable with taking that kind of cash out of wastewater reserves. I know we have it, Ange, but it would be a
It'd be a
significant
big hit.
decrease.
Yeah.
Yes.
No.
So Todd, do you guys, what is, we, in 24, we had this flood
Mhm.
and we didn't have one this year,
Mhm.
past year, knock on wood. We're going to have one next year, or we need to put it up, or we're going to have one within the next 5 years, that we can plan it for 5 years, or?
That's why
Yeah.
I've struggled with it the whole time, Tom.
Yeah.
And that's why I've struggled with the dollars that we're talking about, right?
Right.
It's a lot of money for ifs.
Just to move.
I stood here yesterday and said it's a once in 1,000 or once in 5,000 flood. But I also told you we've had 200 years, a 500 and a 1,000-year flood in 10 years.
Right.
So
But I think we got to be
I don't think
responsible.
we need to do something though. I don't think we ignore it.
Would you be able to sleep at night if you did the flood wall?
it's much improved over what we have now. Yes. Is it ideal? Is it the situation that we probably really want to staff? No. But is it an acceptable solution? Yes.
Now, flood wall, you're talking gates?
So yeah, it would be essentially a series of barriers, permanent barriers that went around it, potentially 4 to 6 feet tall, and then like a 10-foot gate section, 10 to 12-foot gate section that you would have to put flood
So you'd
logs
have
in.
to call in help
Correct. Set them with a
And-
payloader. Yep.
if you're,
Well, it's really.
If-
well,
if-
it's raining, and if it comes up fast,
Yep.
some of these can, that. look at
It's
Rock
not
Island.
perfect.
Yeah, I mean, even look at what we had when we had the major flood, how fast that came up.
If we went with that option, Brad, I think that we would have to, within our staff, would have to set a deal of if the Floyd gets to this level, we're putting the gates in, right? Long before it came out of its banks even.
I think we need to be proactive on that one and do what's good for our citizens and build it right the first time, so it doesn't happen again.
If something were to malfunction and we have that around it, is there any way to get to it then, if it's flooded?
Well, it depends. So, in 24, when we had the, whatever we want to call the big flood, we could not get to it. There was floodwaters. I showed Pete pictures today, actually. There were floodwaters 4 to 5 feet up the building, and there was essentially a moat around it, right? We couldn't get there. I suppose you could have got there maybe in chest waders or a boat, which we have one, but I wouldn't suggest we go out there. Brad's used it before. I wouldn't sharply suggest we do that.
Yep.
Yeah, dealing with, I don't know what the size of those gates would be, but
But to be honest, I mean, so that would be the downside of the wall, right? Is that, let's say you get the big flood and the wall keeps the flood waters out, but the lift station malfunctions.
Right.
And now you've got to get in there to reset a PLC or whatever. Yeah, you now have a lift station and a moat, so then boat would be our probably only option.
Okay.
And
All right.
everything would be above water, all the electrical connections, all the motors. If you build it new, what we want.
Yeah, because
What's
what
your
we would
plan?
do is, I don't know how familiar you guys are with the area, but it's on the rec trail between Washington and the water plant. It's down in the bottom there. And as you remember, as you go west towards towards the water plant, you go up a 25-foot elevation or more, probably more than that. What we would do is take all the electrical equipment, the backup generator, we would actually replace it, but the backup generator, all the PLCs, the transfer switches, all the main electrical components, and take them up the hill, build them on the top of the hill, and then just run transmission electric lines underground back down to the submersible pumps and whatever. And then assuming the DNR would let us, and I think they will, because we're just outside of the 500-year floodplain there, per their maps, I would try to fill in that area and raise the existing structures. Because one of the other things we experienced in 24 is the existing structures are say just high off the ground where the sewage is stored. Well, once the floodwaters got higher than that, even if a pump would have ran, there's no way it would have kept up. The pumps at that lift station will pump around 1,100 gallons a minute, so they'll pump a substantial amount of water or sewage, but not when it's wide open from the top with rainwater and floodwater.
All right, my question.
Yeah.
Vision. You said yesterday, if we're going to grow to the east, we're going to have to address that sewer line between there going east and the size and the capacity.
Correct.
You also, I believe, said that if we're going to increase that pipe and address that growth opportunities, we're going to have to do something with that lift station in order to facilitate that size pipe and the fall you want to have. So if we do a $250,000 or $500,000, is that going to allow us future growth, or are we stymieing ourselves at some point? We have to come back and redress it.
Neither one is stymieing. You still have future growth. Both of those projects, both those dollar amount projects, simply give you flood protection. They add no capacity, no redundancy to the lift station. So we can upsize the piping, and then we can also one time, based on the initial testing we've done, I've had DGR help us with this. We could upsize the pumps one more size and increase our pumping. If it gets to be much more than that, then we're looking at new force main from there all the way to the wastewater plant too. And that'd be another couple, $3 million.
So if we would add another housing development to the east, whether it's on the other side of the highway or south of the railroad tracks or north of Ziegler by Co-op, then we're going to have to put in a bigger lift station and bigger line to the wastewater plant.
Not from the lift station to the plant right away. We could sustain, I'll use the Granster ground as an option. We could sustain development of the Granster ground similar to how we've been developing. You got to remember our developments, most of our commercial industrial developments have been what I call dry developments, right? Not high water users. So we could easily sustain full development there with upgrades between there and the lift station and potentially upsizing a pump in the lift station. If we got a wet industry out there, we might be having a different conversation. And obviously it depends upon how wet are they, right? What is their usage? Get your crystal ball out. I don't know. Historically, we haven't recruited a lot of wet industries, but I will also say that for a lot of years, people like me told the SCDC, don't even look at them because we don't have the water to support them. And we certainly do now. So we're in a much better position, or should be in a better position for recruitment.
So if flooding wasn't the issue, and we just had to replace that area, if it wasn't the deciding factor here, but growth, future vision, that kind of stuff, how would you be investing in that lift facility?
Yeah, I don't think that's a fair question because the only thing this money addresses is flood.
Right.
That's all it is. So we certainly have to upsize piping, and I will start upsizing it whenever. The trigger is whenever you want to develop the next piece of ground east. That's the conversation I've had with SCDC and Development Committee and City Council as far as that goes for quite some time. So if you want us to get ahead on that, we can start anytime. I won't argue to more capacity. Am I answering your question, Jeff? I don't know if I am.
So as far as the lift facility is concerned, it really doesn't make any difference. Any of these three options will provide us the same amount of opportunity in the future if it's not a wet industry.
Yeah, the third one, which has the level of piping, that gets a little, that reduces one area of backlog to the east. So that would be one less section of pipe we would have to do later. But still would not be enough to go to develop or open up the next development east. It would not offer enough capacity for that because there's other areas that are logged. We have to address essentially the area all the way from the lift station all the way to McDonald's. That's the backlog.
It's getting in people's basements and everything else, potentially. And that would help with that part of it.
Yeah, and forget about getting in people's basements. That's the backlog if we want to add more users. That's the area that's currently at its fullest capacity. If you stop in sometime, I can show you. It's really boring. I think it's kind of cool, but you probably think it's really boring. But I can show you all the piping sizes in between there, what their current capacities are, how much % usage they have left, and then that starts to trigger when we got to do certain things. I feel like I have a pretty well laid out plan as to what we need to address between here and there. It's just a matter of when. If we were never going to buy any more ground east or develop any more ground east, it was really a moot point. I would probably just upsize that first section and not do any more. I still need everybody to understand we could build the flood wall, we can upsize the pipe, and if the wrong event happens, we can still back people up, right? This does not, this isn't a guarantee of no backups, Heather. It's an improved situation. We have a lot more pumps than what we had for when the next one comes too. Every time something happens, we buy more resources, spend more money to do a better job the next time.
And the next time always happens.
Yeah, right. I mean, we have a great big 6-inch diesel pump because of the last one, $50,000 pump, that all we've done so far is exercise. And I'll be honest with you, I hope that's all I ever do with it or borrow it to another community in need because.
Buying insurance.
Yeah. So to be continued in a couple weeks, I guess, and then we'll get direction in a couple weeks maybe. Yeah, that invitation to anybody, if you want to see my big boring color copied document of what pipes are under capacity, what are okay. Thank you.
Can I make one comment on
Please
this?
do.
I think it's important to state that, Tanya, feel free to weigh in, but the $250,000 that's at the bottom, if there's new rebates, new rebate requests that would come through the SCDC and the council subject to public hearing like all of them are, we usually have space for those. And the way it's set up now, that $250,000 is at the bottom. So it's just something to keep in mind. You agree with that? Okay.
When you say we have space.
Well, you currently you really don't have room for additional rebates. I mean, we'll come back and update this sheet and bring it back to you, but keep that in mind that there's a couple of potential leads in the hopper that may be asking for rebates, and you might want to leave room for room for that.
Okay.
In 2 weeks, what I'm hearing, we're gonna come back and we're gonna prioritize what the council thinks the top of these top 10. Plus, I'm also thinking we need to throw in the pavilion and the splash pad. And then we're gonna decide what the council's top 10 are. And then whatever the council's top 10 are, we're gonna pick those off as priorities.
Or do we say, these are the things we'd like to accomplish and can we fund them?
Or fund them, and
'Cause
then.
it feels like we're just driving our decision-making based upon the cash we have available, not what we think our
Our
needs or
needs.
desires are.
Yeah, needs and priorities,
And maybe we need more, maybe we need less.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to think that.
You already said that to me, just repeated it.
Yeah,
And does
let's
this-
just see how much we can get done with the extra cash that we've loosened up.
Because some are
To
wants,
see what our bond.
yeah, some are wants and some are needs.
And is this the point we give the public some opportunity to give comment on where we're at this process and these decision-making?
Yeah.
I'm just asking how this process works.
It's an open meeting thing.
Right. But they wanted to see it all laid out and they didn't want to invest the time that we've been in it, unfortunately.
Understandable.
Just want to pick it apart. How that works, because I think someplace Greg had said a little bit differently about in the budget hearings, how the people
The
speak.
public forum is just that's been a standard procedure for some years now, in terms of how long and stuff, but at the same time, there's been very little comment from the public in this setting, in the council room, in terms of public comments on it. I mean, the opportunity is there, but it generally doesn't happen,
Right.
so.
Pretty easy to quiet people down when you give them an opportunity, they don't speak.
Say again?
Pretty easy to shut people down when they get an opportunity to speak and they don't. You know. So I'm agreeing with you.
Okay. Okay. Good. All right. Are we, have we covered everything as far as you're concerned?
Yeah, I think you've pretty much covered part D too on the bonding, so
Mm-hmm.
we'll come back in a few weeks with a new sheet.
So you're gonna, I guess I'm kind of, I don't know where, you're gonna come back with a dollar amount that we're capable of bonding, and then we're gonna pick the projects, or are you gonna come back and say, these are the projects and this is the dollar amount?
Well, a couple of things. One, we're going to uncover the amount that's currently a mystery on how much reserves we have, which I don't think is very much, but we need to uncover that. Two, there's several things that we need to delete or remove. So we've talked about those tonight. And then I think what I heard is that you're asking Todd and Angie and I to try to prioritize those public works projects a little bit more. And
That's my question. Are those, is that a prioritized list now?
well, no, it's our list. It's our list,
One through
not
10.
yours. It should be your list, not ours. So it's
It's
random, Greg. It's not,
Right.
not prioritized.
Because we keep talking about needs versus wants. Well, within needs, we still, I think, need to prioritize what's the worst. What ones do you want to pick off earlier than later?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know if you can give a prioritized list, but if possible, that would be helpful.
one part of it too is the pavilion. If that ends up being $400,000 and that's added, that can't go on the bond because that's not considered essential corporate purpose. That would have to be paid for in cash. So part of it depends if that number has been solidified by the pavilion and if that's something that you want to budget for. That's
So
kind of a big question.
So you can't pay for it through a bond, which will repay with TIF, but we can take it out of TIF.
Right.
Don't follow the circle because you're paying it with the same fund.
It's indebtedness. So if you have it in indebtedness in an amortization schedule, and the rest of these projects would be a 12-year amortization schedule, then it's subject to extra hearings and a potential reverse referendum. But for essential corporate purpose, which is most public works projects, it frees up cash to do other things. That was part of the idea behind doing this suggestion.
Yeah, and ultimately, you're using TIF to pay that corporate bond, correct?
I agree with your logic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So let's talk, I just got a quick question, event center.
I know.
So
But I'm just,
we just said,
proving a
okay,
point.
one of the things is $300,000 for the event center, possibly for an addition. But it feels like we randomly picked out a dollar amount that then we got 300,000, let's do something there instead of a vision that says what's next and how do we fund whatever that vision is for the event center. I don't want to talk about it. I'm just saying that I keep feeling like we have money and we decide we'll throw something here and something there without necessarily having a multi-year plan of where we're going on some of these things.
There is a plan in the works for that. But it's just not finalized yet, so.
So we don't know if 300,000 or
Correct.
3 million is the number at this point.
Correct.
So we put that request down there based on the pavilion board's request.
Right.
Because the pavilion board can't pay that.
Right.
So, yeah, we wanted you to decide.
So I promise this is my last word on this, is that what I'm looking for in 2 weeks is a list of projects that we feel that we absolutely need to bond for because we can't pay cash. We're out of cash. We need to bond for this fiscal period. That's what I want to know. Or if some of these projects can wait to the next fiscal cycle, then I'd like to know that.
All the public works projects can wait till the next fiscal cycle. I mean,
yeah.
so they're all projects, and in my mind, they're all good projects. They're all needs. They're all roads or storm sewers that are
Right.
failing, but none of them are to the point where they're 100% not usable. We should do them sooner than later. They're not going to become, cars aren't going to fall through the road next week.
I understand that too, Todd, and I'm not trying to be negative on this. All I'm trying to do is see how do we get to a point to what we feel that we're being as responsible as we can in the bonding, in the borrowing of funds to do it.
Yeah,
I mean, if we had cash for all this, we wouldn't be talking.
So when I hear you say that, what I hear you say is come back with your prioritized list of projects that fit within available cash that we have.
And then we can talk about what we want to bond on.
So I am hearing you correctly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because that way, then we know what we're bonding, what we're going to
But
talk
also
about.
we want to know your priority list, right? I mean, like, that's two different things. The dollar amount that could fit within the available cash could be different than what our priority list looks like. Am I correct in that? Or, I mean, your number 1 through 4 of priorities could potentially be different than, those dollar amounts could potentially be different than what fits in our available cash.
Yeah,
We would still need to.
I doubt we would bring back you a list of anything that doesn't fit. We would just say, because the sky's not falling, right? So in my opinion, we've done a good job of trying to keep up with some of these projects. So we're not in the situation of, you hear the city where Sioux City just replaced a road because the whole dang thing just like fell in, right?
Right.
Yeah, we're not there. Thank goodness we're not there. I think we'd be having a different conversation. Well, I know we'd be having a different conversation, and I'd probably look for a job. But yeah, we'll get there. But we probably won't come back with a list that doesn't fit within I guess unless you want to bond for more money, but
But would those be your top priorities of things that you want to see done?
I don't believe I would ever come back to council knowing you have to bond and have something that's a lower priority up ahead just because it fits. I think that would be irresponsible.
I think a prioritized list is, you start with that, and then we pick away at it.
I wish we had a 5-year vision that said, here's where we're going, and in 5 years, this is where we want to be, and then we start picking these things off to get there. I mean, Todd, I appreciate everything you do with roads, and Sheldon's roads 5 years ago, city streets were horrible 5 years ago, and you guys have done a great job of picking that off as a city. But is our goal in 5 years to have the roads pretty much addressed, or is it just whatever happens, happens? And I'm not picking on you, I'm just saying, or we've got emergency services buildings we keep kind of talking about, not really talking about. Is that something we're going to in 5 years have addressed? We've got housing developments. What's that going to look like? We need to be giving you as a council a vision of saying, here's where we think we want to be. How do you think we're going to get there based upon the funds and the resources that we have?
Yeah, so
And everything we're doing is based upon how much money we got to spend this year, it feels like. And I'm not blaming you.
I would answer that this way though, Jeff. We are never done doing roads. We have too much infrastructure to be done. So there will be highs, there will be lows, but we will never be done. The list goes on and on, because next you got East 6th Street's in poor condition. You got Pine Street from Washington to North 7th that we're going to need to do something. I mean, and it's just, we are kind of caught up right now. You may or may not have noticed we haven't done a whole lot of asphalt overlay at the last number of years, but we've done a lot more chip sealing and crack sealing, trying to extend. There were years where that's all we did is overlay. We did hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars of the overlay. But that cycle is going to come back, and those roads are going to come back. So as far as I'm concerned, you should consider spending $1 million a year on roads for the rest of my career. We'll never be able to do that. And that's where it comes into where we sometimes have to fit a project at the time that we have the money for it.
And that's what I'm hoping we can do, is to figure out how best to fit it all, so, and pay for it, so.
And we keep adding roads. Don't forget that.
Yep.
I'll get on my rut soapbox here for just a second. So road use tax funding, which is supposed to fund streets, is based on population. You get, Angie just told me the new number yesterday, $140 per capita. It doesn't matter how many miles of roads you have. Like when we took over 2nd Avenue from the DOT, we took on whatever, 2 miles of road. We got $0 extra to maintain that road. So unless we grow population, we don't get more money in road use tax. $140 per capita. So you can do the math. We get about $800,000. That doesn't get close to funding our needs.
So we put a lot of faith in you. You've got a much better handle on this than any of us here sitting at this, at the table here. And so, speaking for myself only now, I would want to do it like you would do. You think it should be done, is how I would run with it.
We'll bring you something back.
So,
I appreciate the back and forth. I hope I don't seem frustrated. I'm not. I'm just trying to think about how to give you guys what you want so we can get to it.
You take passion in your job.
I do.
yep, and we appreciate it. All
And you're,
three of
and
you.
you're a great project.
4 or 5. So,
For the rest of you to know, Tom and I have decided that I'm a better doer than I am a planner.
At least for today, right?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
you have,
And it should know if that came from Todd's mouth.
At this point,
all right. I think we're at a point where we can adjourn, if I get a motion for that.
I'll make a motion.
Roll call, please.
Eggers,
Aye.
Hamel, Osram,
Aye.
Wagner,
Aye.
Hint,
Aye.